Every year, millions of migratory birds cross oceans, deserts, and borders, from European woodlands to the African savanna. These birds follow ancient flight paths, but for some, the journey ends in gunfire in the deserts and wetlands of Egypt. Behind the sound of gunfire lies a story of corruption, greed, and betrayal, stretching from Malta to Cairo, from the halls of power in Brussels to the Nubian villages of Aswan. For 15 months, the New Arabs investigation team tracked the shadowy world of European hunters who descend on Egypt each winter. They kill not for food, but for trophies and taxidermy collections back home, while the European Union spends millions of euros to save these very same species. We went undercover in Fayoum, followed the smuggling routes from Egypt's lakes to Maltese homes, and saw how Europe's conservation efforts collapse when its citizens pull the trigger abroad. This is more than a story of poaching. It's about wasted conservation money, destroyed ecosystems, and a system that rewards hunters while silencing conservationists. I'm Mahmoud Al-Subki, and this is the Poachers Trail, an investigation by the New Arab and Bridges Investigation. For 50 months, we investigated how Maltese hunters are using Egyptian land and weak laws to slaughter protected migratory birds. We uncovered smuggling networks, lost EU funds, and what it means for our ecosystems. It's a story that stretches from Brussels to the Egyptian Delta, and it begins, oddly enough, on Facebook. Following a tip-off, we were sent dozens of highly disturbing photos by conservationists. The photos had been taken by Maltese hunters and then published on social media. Hundreds of dead birds sprawled in desert sand, men posing with rifles and grains. Most posts were geotagged Egypt. We knew we had to follow the feathers. Our journey begins with the hunters. The hunting of birds is a popular pastime for many across Europe, either for sport or food. But in Malta, it's a way of life for many, and Egypt is a prime location for them. The country offers upsides like Lake Nasser, 932 kilometers south of Cairo. The lake is some 550 kilometers long and 35 kilometers across at its widest point. It covers a total surface area of 5,250 square kilometers. It's beautiful and tranquil until the Maltese hunting teams arrive. But who are these hunters?
It's a bit like football fans, for example. You can boast that you have watched all the games live in the different stadiums, wherever they happen, and so on. I mean, that's, there's a social element to that. So, of course, there is this aspect to hunting. Clearly, there is a profound social element. But it's not just that. I think we shouldn't really underestimate the extent to which this is a passion.
Yeah, the reason behind them shooting the birds, I think, is grounded in a very cultural belief. Whether that is still relevant in the modern age or it's used as an excuse, I'm not completely sure. I think possibly that cultural need, the traditional belief for needing to shoot, is probably not as strong as it once was. As to why they're shooting birds and like eagles and that sort of thing, I guess they're just a bit more sort of charismatic, a lot more. If you have a stuffed eagle in your home, then maybe this is a bit of a status symbol potentially. I guess they're sort of associated with sort of power a lot of the time. It's a predator, so it probably sort of drills down into the sort of mindset of humans a little bit.
Bird hunting is available in Malta. A common saying in the country is, if it flies, it dies. Is hunting in their home country not enough for them? Brian Campbell is an anthropologist at the University of Plymouth who researches the politics of conservation and the conflict between conservationists and hunters.
I mean, sometimes entire days, if not weeks, go by without you actually just hitting the trigger. So there's a lot of frustration that is then added on to the surveillance that hunters face. Now, suddenly you're putting those people in Egypt, right? Where, according to them and according to what I've read, you've got birds everywhere, no people surveying you, cheap licenses. This is their idea of heaven, right? So you've got loads of frustrations that are suddenly released in a place like Egypt.
Part of the draw of Egypt is due to the restrictions faced in Malta. Bird hunting in Malta has been a popular pastime for generations and has been embedded into the culture of the small Mediterranean island. It has also become a key issue in the country's politics. Maltese Member of Parliament and Minister for Gozo and Planning, Clint Camilleri, himself reportedly a hunter and trapper who has overseen the hunting portfolio since 2020, has been accused of circumventing EU regulations established in 2009 to protect wild bird species and their habitats across the European Union. At a campaign event in 2019, Camilleri gave a speech to supporters where he vowed to continue his support for Maltese bird hunters.
Dan il-gvern fejn kellu bżonn jinnegozja, innegozja. Fejn kellu bżonn jikkonvinċi, ikkonvinċa. U fejn kellu bżonn.
To a cheering crowd of supporters, he said,
"We respected the people's decision in the spring referendum and will continue to do so. This government will remain at the forefront to defend our traditions because they are what is ours."
Irrispettajna d-deċiżjoni tal-poplu f'referendum tar-rebbija.
Mark Sultana is the CEO of BirdLife Malta and one of the most outspoken voices against the illegal hunting of birds. For years, he has campaigned to expose how Maltese hunters exploit loopholes at home and abroad.
It's so huge for a small island like ours that the politicians have now fallen into the trap that they think that there are more people that care about hunting than people that care about nature. And that it's not true. So the politicians believe that they have to allow the hunters to do what they want purely because they want to be re-elected again.
Shortly before the June 2024 EU elections, Malta's Federation for Hunting and Conservation, or FKNK, issued a statement titled "Why Hunters and Trappers Must Vote in the European Elections." It underscored the influence that members of the European Parliament would wield over the next 5 years on hunting regulations, species conservation, and firearms legislation. This sentiment was clearly presented in the line.
Decisions in Brussels will also affect the bird species which can be hunted and trapped.
6 MEP candidates from Malta's ruling Labour Party endorsed the pro-hunting manifesto promoted by the FKNK. For won seats in the European Parliament. One of the Labour candidates was Steve Elul. Steve's uncle, Mario Elul, was found guilty of breaching wildlife protection rules in 2022. He was fined €6,000, around $6,360 at the time, and had his taxidermy license suspended for 2 years. Kenneth Elul, Steve's cousin, was also fined 1,000 Maltese lira, around $3,130 in 2007, for possessing the skins of protected birds. Who is the FKNK, and what is the scope and limit of their power? Mark Anthony Falzon is an anthropologist and professor at the University of Malta. He has studied Malta's hunting culture for decades and explains how tradition, identity, and taxidermy fueled appetite for killing birds.
There is a strong hunting lobby in Malta. There is an organization, a hunting organization, which has been around for the best part of 50 years now. It has changed name, but now it's called the Federation of Hunters and Trappers, FKNK. It's a pretty strong lobby. Most hunters are members of the FKNK. There are other groups. There's one called San Uberto and so on. But that's the main organization, the FKNK. They are very active and very present. And the way they operate is politically. if I have to be honest, I would have to say that they are, as a lobby officially, they have always been against illegal hunting. As a lobby, I'm saying now. So the FKNK will never condone or defend someone who shoots an eagle, for example. Now, of course, there can be a difference between what you officially do and what you informally do, but I think the FKNK has, in some cases, helped in the implementation of laws because it regulates hunters. It has a formal membership. If you break the law and you're convicted of breaking the law, you lose your FKNK membership, which means that you can't hunt anymore because the license depends on membership of an organization.
The New Arab contacted Clint Camilleri, Steve, Mario, Joseph, and Kenneth Ilul. We asked whether they believed Malta was home to a politically influential hunting lobby. We received no response in time for publication. In a phone call to Mario Ilul's home, he hung up at the mention of hunting trips to Egypt. In the past, Malta has made efforts to confront its bird hunting at the ballot box. On April 11, 2015, a coalition of environmental groups organized a referendum to abolish the spring hunting of turtle doves and quails.
Which is incredible because Malta is not Switzerland. In Switzerland, they have a referendum every other day, pretty much, over small things because it's, direct democracy. But in Malta, a referendum is a very, very, very rare event. In the last 40 years, we've had 3 referendums, one on whether or not to join the European Union, another on divorce, whether divorce should be legalized or not, and the third, whether or not turtle doves can be hunted in the spring. This is to give you a sense of how much of a political issue this is. So the FKNK is very active politically, and in fact they won the referendum. The referendum was won by hunters.
It resulted with defeat for the conservationists. 50.44% of the voters favored maintaining spring hunting, while 49.56% stood against it. The New Arab contacted Lucas Mikhailov, the FKNK president, seeking comment on the federation's political influence and on the violations committed by the Maltese hunters in Egypt. No response was received in time for publication. Malta has been found to be in breach of EU regulations on hunting and bird trapping on multiple occasions, primarily concerning the spring hunting of turtle doves and quails, as well as the live capture of finches. The European Commission has initiated infringement proceedings against Malta. They have argued that they violate the EU Birds Directive, which mandates a general system of protection for wild birds and permits derogations only under strict conditions. These strict hunting regulations are designed to protect biodiversity and migratory bird species in particular. The European Court of Justice confirmed in September 2024 that Malta's finch trapping scheme, even under the guise of research, does not constitute a genuine research project and thus breaches EU bird protection laws. It is clear that Malta does not follow these laws at home, and they take this attitude with them beyond the island's shore.
The EU is governed by the Birds Directive in the case of birds, and Habitats Directive in the case of the environment generally. So you have relatively common legislation because then there are derogations and so on, but you have a set of laws, and that preserves birds within the EU region. But once the birds fly out of that EU region, then the whole thing does not apply. Then, of course, there are other conventions. So there are conventions, for example, that protect wetlands, international conventions that protect wetlands. There are conventions on the trade of endangered species, CITES, for example, and so on. The whole point of these cooperations between countries and over broad geographical areas is to protect mobile species, because there is no point in protecting a mobile species at point A and killing it at point B.
Restrictions on bird hunting, mainly coming from the EU, do exist in Malta, but there is generally a greater level of freedom for bird hunting there than in other European countries. Additionally, based on the breaches noted by the EU, some Maltese hunters take little notice of the laws. So, why do these Maltese hunters go to Egypt? Mark Sultan again.
Why they go to Egypt and why they go to other countries to kill the turtle is because most probably they can do it in larger numbers, because the numbers have dwindled a lot in the past years. Yet in Africa they winter, and before they migrate north they're easy targets for the hunters, so they will catch hundreds and thousands. And it does not make sense that in Europe we're trying to safeguard the bird and then we allow Europeans to go to Egypt and hunt those birds. So as much as in Egypt it's not illegal possibly to kill a turtle dove, I think it should be a law that no European should be allowed to go to African and other countries which allow it legally there, but to actually go and hunt birds which are protected in Europe.
In a video published on February 17, 2019 on Facebook, an Egyptian guide brags about organizing a trip for Maltese hunters. On this trip, they killed between 1,000 and 1,500 doves.
هاو شي 1500 قميمة هسه اليوم 17.
He says, quote, "Look at all these birds. We killed them all."
اليوم نص النهار 6 من الكشادوري.
Social media is playing a crucial role for bird hunting in Egypt. Bert Ferns is a conservation breeding manager who studied Maltese bird hunting regulations and has seen how social media plays a big role in advertising for these hunting trips.
It's a big advert. It's a big sort of shop window. It's sort of being used as a business. Like come here, you will have all the hunting, all the best hunting that you can have. The variety of species, the number of species. It is just a big advertising ploy, I think, a lot of the time. And of course, there's an economic benefit for some people in this. Egyptian hunters can see what Maltese hunters are doing. Maltese hunters can see what Egyptian hunters are doing. This feeling of why are we getting punished or why are we being enforced so much when the birds can, in a few days' time, go to another country where it's almost like a free-for-all.
The Egyptian Ministry of Environment issues an annual decree that outlines hunting regulations. Each year, they list the species that can be hunted and the governorates where tourist hunting is allowed. Among the species allowed to be hunted are the northern pintail, laughing dove, and mallard duck. However, Maltese hunters in Egypt have been documented hunting birds that are not on the list of permitted species. There are those on the ground who are trying to enforce the regulations. Haitham Ibrahim, Conservation Director at Nature Conservation Egypt, has spent years on the front lines, protecting the country's fragile ecosystems. From Lake Nasser to Egypt's other governorates, he has documented the scale of illegal hunting and the near impossibility of enforcing Egypt's wildlife laws. He has seen how the Egyptian hunting decree needs amendment, as it provides more freedom for the hunters.
A hunting decree would require a comprehensive overhaul. Every year, Egyptian law stipulates that the Minister of the Environment issues a decree that regulates hunting, from the beginning to the end of the season. This decree specifies the types of species that are permitted to be hunted and the quantities. The purpose is to allow hunting because it's a source of income, as this tourism helps many people find work and make a living. However, at the same time, it's crucial to preserve the essential natural component that is our capital. If we allow unrestricted hunting, we will face a problem within a year or two. There will be no more game, and no one will come to hunt. Sustainability in the use of natural resources is a fundamental principle.
Tourists can apply to hunt in 4 of Egypt's governorates: Minya, Asyut, Beni Suef, Fayoum. Although a recent decree number 204 issued by Egypt's Ministry of Environment on August 27, 2024, expanded tourist hunting permissions to include 2 new governorates, the New Valley and Suhaj. Khalid al-Nobi is the Executive Director of Nature Conservation Egypt. For him, illegal hunting isn't just an environmental crisis, it's also an economic and cultural issue woven into the lives of Egyptian communities. He actively promotes bird watching and ecotourism as sustainable alternatives to hunting.
حاجة ما سألتش على ده بس احنا مش عاجبنا انه الصيد اتفتح في الواحات.
We're strongly against the decision to open hunting in the oases, and we consider it an absolute disaster. How can hunting be permitted in one of the world's most fragile ecosystems? The oases are like islands in the desert, serving as the only safe haven in a vast, harsh landscape for both migratory and resident birds. The birds and other wildlife won't have anywhere to seek refuge. It will be a death trap for them. The oases are the sole refuge for all these animals in the middle of the desert, and now you've gathered them all in one place and opened the door for people to shoot them. Let's be realistic, there is no oversight to enforce the law there. You can't guarantee that hunters will only target birds, nor can you be sure about the impact of intense and unregulated hunting, as we receive reports from our members in the field. What will be the impact of this gunfire on endangered species? For us, this new decision is a disaster we absolutely do not want to see happen.
بالنسبة لنا كارثة ما نحبش نشوفها في القرار الجديد أبدا يعني.
These desert oases are not simply for birds. The birds are one part of the ecosystem to exist within these oases. Haitham Ibrahim again.
The oasis is a fragile ecosystem. It's like you're going to the ocean and fishing. It's a living, balanced island. There are no outside inputs. It's just like desert environments, which are isolated or semi-isolated. So, imagine if a group travelled and saw the birds they love, even if they were on a hunting list, and they trampled a little. The hunting list doesn't specify a number, so they went out and hunted a larger number. You'll ruin everything. You could eliminate a species that was fighting a pest, for example, or another creature that lives because it doesn't have a natural enemy.
We contacted Egypt's Ministry of Environment to clarify whether any scientific study had been conducted before allowing hunting tourism in the oasis. We also asked if there had been any pressure from the tourism industry. No response was received in time for publication. Hunters traveling from Malta to Egypt to take advantage of the lax laws and enforcement is an environmental disaster. But these hunters are not solo travelers. They arrive in Egypt as part of an organized expedition. So, how are the Maltese hunters getting into Egypt, and who is helping them on the ground? Maltese hunters typically enter Egypt on a standard tourist visa, granted upon arrival, according to trip organizers and documents reviewed by the New Arab. The Egyptian National Security Agency, in addition to the Ministries of Environment and Tourism, issued the required hunting permits. Local hunting organizers and intermediary companies facilitate the process of securing permits to bring firearms and ammunition into the country, allowing each hunter up to 500 cartridges, according to documents we obtained from sources. Abu Abdullah, a pseudonym, works for a bird hunting organizer based in Fayoum, posing as a tourist company planning to bring European hunters. Speaking with him revealed a complex system of organizing hunting trips for foreign tourists, reflecting both the high demand and intricate logistics involved in this often clandestine activity.
The cartridges, the quantity you want. For example, what quantity? They want to hunt a lot? Okay, you want 1,000 or 2,000, 3, 4, whatever you want. I'm at your service.
So, if I want 10,000, you'll get them for me?
Yes, how many days will they stay?
They want to stay a week?
For a week, I have all the cartridges available. If you want housing and all that, tell me so I can book it for you.
Yes, That's why I'm talking to you, so you can give me the details. Let's talk about cartridges. What if I want 10,000?
The cartridges, bless the prophet, don't worry about it. I have cartridges.
I'm telling you, the group wants to hunt. They don't want anything to stop them, for example.
No, as long as they are foreigners and guests, I am at your service.
How much is the box?
I give 4 boxes for $120.
And how many are in the box?
25. The shotgun sells for 2,500 Egyptian pounds, but I'll give it to you for 2,000.
Do you have Europeans coming with you to hunt?
No, but Maltese hunters.
So, you get a lot of them?
Yes, from September when the hunting season opens until March. I just finished with the last group the day before yesterday. I take these and bring those. I had 20 groups.
Wow, you had 20 groups this year?
Yes.
And what do the Maltese people hunt here?
Ducks, doves, pigeons and other birds.
بيصطادوا ايه المالتيين هنا؟
اصطادوا البط واليمام والحمام والطيور.
بس ابو زياد يعني انت بتقولي من 9 ل 3 يعني بعد كده.
International actors also help enable illegal bird hunting in Egypt. A recurring figure on these networks is Kenneth Kayo Elul, the relative of the MEP candidate Steve Elul, who published many photos on Facebook while hunting in Aswan, and was intercepted by the Maltese customs with birds of prey, and was fined $2,200 in 2002. Eiffel Travel Egypt, Ibis, Saga, Stylish Holidays Travel, and Egypt Time Travel are among the companies registered with the Egyptian Travel Agents Association. These operations are occasionally coordinated through foreign tour companies. Egypt Time Travel, Eiffel, and Ibis have organized hunting trips for Mario, Joseph, and Kenneth Elul, as well as other Maltese citizens. All of the Eluls have been convicted of violating wild bird protection laws in their home country of Malta. This isn't just about 1 or 2 rogue hunters. It's organized and lucrative. We sent emails to Egypt Time Travel inquiring about their role in facilitating the Elul's hunting trips. They responded saying,
Egypt Time Travel operates with full legal authorization and in strict compliance with Egyptian wildlife protection laws.
Defending its activities, they added,
Egypt Time Travel operates independently and is not affiliated with any illegal associated groups or entities.
Similarly to Egypt Time Travel, Eiffel Travel Egypt responded that they abide by the Egyptian laws. They also declined any responsibility for any communication between hunters and people who do not work for us in the company. The remaining companies didn't respond to our requests for comment in time for publication. On the next episode of the Poachers Trail, we travel to Egypt and confront the hunt organizers and meet with those who have dedicated their lives to stopping them.
The problem isn't just the number of birds they kill, it's what they're killing. I've seen hunters bragging about their Egyptian vulture kills. It's not about food, it's about ego.
The Poachers Trail was an investigation by the New Arab and Bridges Investigations with the support of Journalism Fund Europe. It was written and hosted by me, Mahmoud Al-Subki, with additional help from Wael Al-Saib. Andrea Yuti is the New Arab's investigative editor. This podcast was produced by Hugo Godrich. Don't forget to follow the New Arab on Facebook, X, and Instagram for all the latest news, analysis, and opinion from the region.